Listening to the Roll for Initiative podcast, the only Advanced Dungeons & Dragons first edition podcast out there.
The Roll for Initiative podcast, volume 7, issue 196. We're getting closer to 200, folks. The 200 show is not that far away. I'm Vince, and I'm sitting with Matt.
Hello, everyone.
And Crispy.
How's it going?
Mr. Save or Die himself.
Yeah, man, you should listen to our show. It's really good.
Well, you only had one episode out as of right now, so.
You should listen to our one show. It's very good. It's better than this one. I'm just kidding. Please don't fire me.
Why would it? I'm not going to fire you. God, I think something like Vince McMahon or something.
Please don't eject me from the show.
Well, he does have the gimmick seat.
Yeah,
I do. I have the rotating.
You do.
Special guest star.
Yeah, you've been our special guest host for the past 5 years, probably.
Anytime I talk about the show, I was like, yeah, I just have like a permanent guest host position.
Yeah, he's not an actual host. He's just a permanent guest host. That way, when he wants to drop out.
And more importantly, that way, by not making him a permanent host, he won't automatically get ejected out of that chair, because that's what's happened to everyone else that sat in that chair.
And to think about it, Crispy is the only co-host that we had that has left, come back, left, and came back again.
That's very true.
Yes.
So yeah, you're like that. Yeah, that drummer that just keeps coming back, man. Tries his own thing.
I'm the Peter Criss of this podcast.
Yes,
that's his name, right? From Kiss.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You just try your own thing for a while and be like, it didn't work out. Let me come back to a show I love.
Yeah.
We're always here for you, man. We're a family.
As Bon Jovi says, who says you can't go home? I should have, for that joke, done a completely unrelated Bon Jovi lyric. Like Bon Jovi says, whoa, we're halfway there. Whoa, living on a prayer.
So this is going to be Crispy's last show for a while.
It's been quite a run.
Why don't we do the joke like you did on your show? It's been a great run. Why don't we say goodbye to everybody? This is our last show for your first show. And then people thought that they were done. I was like, really? You didn't think he was joking?
We did that so over the top. Like, I tried as much as I could to, like, just overindulge in it, just to make it clear, like, hey, this is a bit. We're doing a bit right now.
But a lot of people were just like, wow, you guys were great. I'm sorry to hear this was your last show.
Yeah.
It was only their
this
first.
way. The Save or Die listeners, they've been through a lot.
Yeah, that's true. They're traumatized.
They've had to make that saving throw a few times.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they're a little gun shy. They're a little nervous.
But let's not talk about that show. Let's talk about this show.
Do we have any news as far as WotC releases, Matt, at this point?
Yes, actually, because as with all of their new releases, they're pulling stuff from the days of yore and bringing it to the new gamers out there. So we got Tomb of Annihilation just hit the friendly local game stores as of this week.
Yeah.
Which is basically Tomb of Horrors mixed with Dwellers of the Forbidden City. So you get some the cult aspect mixed with Acerak. So they're trying to acknowledge their history more. So it's I think that's a good, and I think that's helping bring back some of the old players that got alienated during the days of Fourth, when it's like, oh, they're actually acknowledging their history as opposed to just obliterating the universe and starting something new with a spell plague.
Oh, God, yeah, spell plague.
Yeah. Whereas
I actually like.
Yeah.
With the Drizzt books, with the spell plague stuff, like the first one to come out, I read like the forward, and I didn't read a Drizzt book for like 10 more years because I was so mad that they're like, spell plague, we're gonna kill off all the stuff you like.
Yep. And then fast forward 100 years, because we don't really want to explain that middle period all that much because it's magic.
Yeah, like just was like, all of my friends are dead. I'm so sad, and now I'm gonna pal around with evil people. The darkness.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But, yep, so they got that, and it's a little funny because Magic the Gathering has a new set come out that's very similar to Chult.
Yes. I'm so excited for Ixalan.
Yes, Pirates and Dinosaurs, which is pretty much what you're getting in Tomb of Annihilation as well, because it's in that lost world of Chult, which has dinosaurs and pirates. And someone actually asked Mike Merles if that was intentional. And they're like, no, that was actually just a really weird coincidence that they both have pirates and dinosaurs coming out simultaneously.
Yeah, kind of suspicious.
I don't think it is, because like I'm looking back at previous Magic releases, and I think like they did return to Innistrad, which is it's Ravenloft, the card game, around the same time Curse of Strahd came out.
True.
I don't think it's coincidental. I think like some kind of brand manager collusion is going on.
Right, and they're just not smartening up design and development. But yeah, it looks interesting because you this new one you're getting dinosaur racing and like flying monkeys as familiars and some very much wacky pulp stuff. So
yeah, that's right up my alley because like Isle of Dread is my favorite module ever.
You just like flying monkeys, that's all.
I do. I'm a big Wizard of Oz fan.
I knew it.
I'm a big Frank L. Baum fan. So I think I'm going to pick that one up.
Yeah.
Because it's Tomb of Horrors. You know, like they did Tomb of Horrors for 4th edition. And it was bad. And it was not good.
That's right. There was one for 3rd edition. Yeah, I forgot all about that.
Yeah. With this, it's actually going to be like Curse of Strahd, a whole like 20 level campaign setting. So
that'll be really cool, actually.
Yeah. Got to see some of the art and everything back at Origins for it, and it looked good. And they're dipping into the Fiend Folio for bringing back some of those monsters from the one bird people, the Acererak.
Yeah.
Yep, the Acererak are coming back, and the one unicorn bunnies. They're back.
Oh man, what are those things called? I know what you're talking about.
The Almagier. But yeah, then you can actually have those as familiars as well.
Huh.
So,
I think I had a friend like tweeted an hour ago actually saying D&D is going to release some stats for turtle people as a playable race.
Yeah, people were going, "Oh my god, I can play turtles finally from the Teenage Mutant." I'm like, oh.
That is essentially what they were said. He's like, I'm excited to be a turtle wizard.
Yes. Turtle monk, a team of 4.
I would play that game as like a one shot.
Yes.
Liar.
Or yeah, and actually now that you have the flying monkeys, you can also do your Frank L. Baum inspired one shot.
Yep. Crispy's staying up late at night playing that.
Right.
It's true.
Yes. Maybe it'll be your next actual play.
With Trask.
I knew that's where that was going.
Trask is Dorothy.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, that'd be great. Island!
That would be great. I liked you most of all.
Oh my god, there he was. There was Trask. We haven't heard him in such a long time.
We found him, finally!
That's right. Actual play podcast coming soon. No, I'm kidding. It's not happening.
No, you can't. You just got to leave that out there. Don't reveal it's a bit.
Oh, okay.
And then people are like, hey, like 4 months later, you're gonna get like 15 emails. What's going on with that actual play? Is that like, are you guys done? Did you record it all at once and just release? Are you gonna release it in chunks?
Why does this sound like a snobby person contact us?
You know.
I don't know. Why you always go to the snobby rich voice? I mean.
He defaults to Thurston Howell?
Yeah, it's like you always oh, yes, I say.
Gilligan?
Gilligan, little buddy. Yeah. All right, well, let's get into some nitty-gritty and enough of this BS talk now. Head into some DM rules.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want, but I have a very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. I will look for you. I will find you. And I will kill you.
So on DM Rules today, we're going to talk about starting a new campaign. Some advice for you guys. Kind of talking about, how much you plan, what sort of things you like to do, how you kind of start a new campaign. With me, I actually just did this recently.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. We haven't got to play yet. I need to rectify that. But I just started a mega dungeon, actually. That was sort of the thing that I was doing. And
is it your own homebrew or is it a module?
No, it's a homebrew.
Oh,
so,
okay, cool.
It's like a dumb comedy, like not take it too seriously kind of game, which is kind of different because normally if I start a campaign, I go pretty serious with it. But basically the premise is the mega dungeon is the basement of a bar. But the bar has been there since time immemorial. It's been there for thousands of years. And over time, in the basement space, people just rent out rooms. Like, there's like a 3-month period where a wizard rents out the room, and then he digs a tunnel that leads to like his wizard's lab. Or a cult goes and they start a shrine. And, it's got like a 3-level basement. And so your adventure's staying there, and you just go on like kind of like, I guess, missions issued by the innkeeper. Who is like, he's just kind of clueless as to what's going on.
But he gives you missions, but he's clueless to what's going on.
So he's like, oh, I need you to go like grab this thing from the dungeon, or not the dungeon, from the basement. It's on basement floor 2. It's by like the wine barrels. And then you get down there and you're looking for the thing, and it's not there, but there's a hole in the wall that then leads to like a 5-room dungeon complex that belonged to like a pack of kobolds. They've been like stealing food.
I was down there doing inventory and I lost my glasses. Could you go get them for me?
Yeah, stuff like that. Or like like you go down, like I think the first session I'm gonna do is they're gonna go kill rats in a basement. A very, very classic first mission kind of D&D adventure. But it's not gonna be that. There's gonna be twists and turns that kind of show that this place it's impossibly large. It's basically as large as I would need it to be because it's been there forever. It's got a very traditional like pub name as well.
Right.
It's Fat Chester's Pub and Grub Bar and Grill.
That's a long sign.
Yeah. Also, no one named Fat Chester has ever owned that bar.
Fictitious name.
Yeah.
Okay.
Normally, and I'm not doing a lot of prep for this one. Mm-hmm. Normally, I do a ton of prep, and it never goes anywhere, and I don't get to use it. So this is kind of a nice experiment to pull back and just have some fun.
So
that's what I got going on.
So what tips do you have for new DMs and old?
I think it's very easy. There's a trap, I think, that happens with prepping for a game where you prep too much. You're prepping stuff that you're never going to use,
Well, still can use it somehow.
Yeah. But, I don't know, like, coming up with the line of succession for the Emperor, you don't need to do that. Nobody cares.
I care.
He's the guy in charge, and he has an army, and all his guards are stronger than you. So don't try to kill him, or try to kill him. It's a free country. Don't have every settlement on the map. Have just the main ones, and then leave yourself some room to be like, oh yeah, this is the town of the Hobbit's place, and it's between Shire Town and Baggins Boulevard.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I don't really, for my setting when I'm doing a whole continent. I'll usually do like the main capital and a few little like small cities, and then have the players heading towards heading towards whatever city, and then if they ask for more, I'll just make it up as I go and then write it down so I know it's where it is.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to flesh out the world. It's the same thing with like building player characters. Like, you know, somebody who comes up with a 4-page backstory and goes, here's my character. I'm not going to use that. Like, make your character as you're making them. They're level 1. They weren't the general in a war. They didn't kill the evil tyrant. You're Bob the farmer, and now you're in a career transition into being Bob the fighter.
And what about your session 0? Do you have anything for session 0, or you just jump right into the game? Or
yeah, with me, what I like to do, my session 0 is normally a character creation session and then like a mini adventure. And then a thing I like to do is on that session 0, I like to let people make changes to their character. So they go, oh, like I'm going to play, a fighter, and I have like, I'm going to be dex based. And, session 0, they're like, I liked hitting stuff with my great axe better, so I'm going to like make myself strength based.
Okay, so
kind of give you a freebie session to kind of like test out your character.
Exploration. Okay. I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Give people a chance to play and feel out their characters. Oh, I don't really like it. If I made this small adjustment, and allow them to make that small adjustment. Going forward, no more adjustments. That's what you're stuck with.
Yep, exactly. Right.
Very good. I like that, Crispy. Good job.
Yeah, thanks, man.
You get a cracker.
Yes.
What about you, Matt?
Yeah, well, with me, I'm a big proponent of the session 0 too, and when it comes to having a campaign, I might have like a general idea of what the campaign is, like maybe 2 sentences. This is kind of what the big story is. And then I'll have session 0 and let the players flesh out their own backstories. And then I can start riffing off their backstories they develop for the first session and then just build from there. So I will gladly steal ideas from my players on the fly, even like during the game itself, is the players start talking about, they think something is going on. And when I never even thought of making that happen, but it sounds cool. Okay, that's now happening. So mine is very low prep and very much going with the flow and on the fly. I rarely have more than 1 session planned. I'll have an idea of what we're doing tonight and maybe where we are going for the following session, but that's it. When I was even doing my Ravenloft campaign, I had probably 3 or 4 alternate endings, and I had no idea which way I wanted to go, because I had one that would have a happy ending, one that even if they killed Strahd was still going to be a bad ending, and at the end I'm just like, okay, let's go with the happy.
So you kind of did like a whole Walking Dead thing, so nobody would know. Just have all these alternate endings and roll with
it. Yeah, because it's more, and at no point in time did I really even tip off. Like, they were just trying to get home and get out of Ravenloft. That was their goal. Well, I'm like, considering all the things you've done, I could have it be where you get to go home, but your home's now in Ravenloft. You're welcome. Where your own domain got sucked in because of what happened, what you did to get sucked into Ravenloft, because basically they had ended up pulling like a magic item that just caused a whole bunch of chaos, we'll say. But I ended up saying by them destroying Ravenloft, they got the happy ending variant. But I think the biggest trap you can fall in is when you start creating a world, are you creating it for your players or are you creating it for yourself? When you get into that deep backstory and the history, that's more often for you, not necessarily your game. And if that's something you enjoy, more power to you. And fleshing out this world, I mean, that's how we got Forgotten Realms. So Ed Greenwood decided he just kept wanting to write notes. And then next thing you know, we have this massive giant world. And if that's something you enjoy, great, but don't do all this prep and think you're going to need it all for your game, because you're not.
Yeah.
Because if you really narrow it down to what your players might do, you can, with fair accuracy, know where they're wandering next, what areas they can even theoretically get to. And you only need to expand your world out to that. Mm-hmm. You don't need to have the dark side of the moon statted out. And as you run your game, your world will grow into an actual real complete world, as opposed to making the complete world and then letting your players run around into it. I think that more organic growth creates something a little more unique, and that way it also, the players affect it, even if they don't necessarily know they have.
Yeah, you're playing with a bunch of creative people, like 3 heads or 4 heads or 5 heads, how many people are playing, coming up with things for the world is going to be better. That collaborative process is going to be a lot better than what you could come up with just on your own. Didn't they do that with the Forgotten Realms, like with the novels? They just gave people like they gave R.A. Salvatore like one corner and they gave someone else another corner, and then eventually like those writers fleshed those things out.
Right. They each had their own area that they were writing. And so that way, and they had like a project manager over them just to make sure nothing really crazy happened. But that was kind of their own playground, and they can do what they want and not have to worry about affecting other people's stories.
Yeah. I want to kind of jump onto the Session Zero thing here, because it's something I had thought about as you were talking about that. Making characters.
Right.
Do you do that as they make them at home and bring them to the table, and then you reconcile that mess by itself, or do you make them in a group?
For me, it depends on if I know the players or not. If I know my group, then generally I'll allow them to roll on their own if I'm allowing rolls, or if I'm allowing... Sometimes I add a point buy from the later editions that they started doing. And actually, I stole one from 2nd edition. They had one as well, if you look that up. I allow that as well and let them choose. But if it's like brand new people, like at the game shop or something, Session Zero is always going to be sitting at the table, rolling up characters, 4d6, drop the lowest, and all characters have to be approved. That's generally how I handle that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We always just get together and roll them at the table.
Yeah, I'm in the same kind of boat.
Which one?
Yeah, with
Matt and I are in the same boat. You're on a life raft. You're Jack off the Titanic.
Where's Rose?
Drowning in the.
But where's my Rose?
She's hogging the life raft.
Oh,
right. She let you go into the water to die.
She didn't want to scoot over.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, one of the reasons I like having everyone make characters together is I basically force people to have some sort of tie to at least one other person. And it could be like, oh, we're childhood friends, or like I saved his life when we were in the war together, or like we're brothers. One of the best D&D games I played was there were 2 buddies. It was a 2nd edition game. They came and at the table they were dwarf brothers. And like they played off each other. They've probably done that same kind of archetype before, but it was really entertaining to watch.
I seem to remember someone else doing that in one of my games too.
Yeah, and it was great.
Yeah, you and Chuck.
Chuck? Was it Chuck or Leaf?
No, it was Leaf. That's right. Yeah, Leaf.
It was Leaf. Yeah.
Trask's brother. I can't remember his name though, but yeah, that was fun.
Rogar, I think.
Maybe, yeah. I'm not. I just know he sounded just like you, and the two of you were just like relief comedy.
That was Leaf's actual voice. Leaf just sounded like that. Yeah. I was doing an affectation,
but it was fun.
Yeah. Another thing I like to do is when people are making the characters, that's why I like to sit down and not have them just come to the table with the characters. I don't trust other people to be alone in the creative process, and I like to add details that do tie people to the world. Like my Fat Chester's Pub and Grub Bar and Grill Express is it's a 5th edition game, and one of the players is a Kenku bard named B Sharp. Her ex-boyfriend in the world is a Kenku. She's a Kenku paladin of the god of music. Her ex-boyfriend is a Kenku bard, who his name is C Flat. Now, if you play music, that joke is hilarious because those are the same notes. But they hate each other because he basically is Kenku Justin Bieber.
Oh God.
And he's like, so she's like given, she is a paladin of the god of music. She's, divinely inspired music that she plays. This is straight from God's mouth, the music of angels. But nobody respects her craft. And Kenku Justin Bieber is like a huge pop star.
But don't Kenkus only speak by mimicking, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So what it is she's a jazz musician. So basically her art is she like has memorized all the notes and puts them together in like jazz improvisation.
Oh, boy.
Where he has just like memorized a bunch of stuff that sounds nice and like is easily accessible.
Now, do they actually sing when they talk for, fun or?
No, I mean like they're Kenku, so they open their mouth and like a piano riff comes out.
Do you have your players make noises and stuff?
No. I would not expect someone to like be able to do like a jazz improv riff with their voice.
Why not?
Because he's not a piano.
Okay, true.
Yeah, and that's like we also have a character who was like, they're on a holy mission from their god, and originally that person was like, maybe they're like a noble and they resent their family and they're running away from that like destiny to a greater destiny. I was like, oh, what if everyone saw the thing that put her on this divine quest and like everyone's super supportive? That's something that you don't really see a lot. Like you'll see like, oh, I'm a prince, but like I was called to a greater calling and my family resents me for it. And I was like, no, what if they're like super supportive? So you can kind of come up with these concepts and refine them more with having everyone develop characters, if not together as a group, at least with you as the DM. I think like it's important for the DM to be able to tie it to the world, to have some kind of hand in that collaborative process of creating a character.
Right. It's the current game I'm playing, and the guy running it, his whole concept was every player has been accused of it's in Waterdeep, has been accused of a crime, got jailed, but is now getting like a early release in exchange for doing service for one of the masked lords. And so what he did is he had each of us write up our backstory and send it to him, but none of the other players know it.
Oh.
So we each have this all little, did they do it? Didn't they do it? And also what our crime is. So at that point, we, as players, we each have that mystery of, okay, is this an innocent person or is this just some psychotic maniac that I'm stuck with? So we kind of almost have a Suicide Squad thing going on.
Yeah, that's when you first said that my brain jumped to that, but I was like, no, like Suicide Squad's not the first thing to do that. But it's very reminds me more of the Shawshank Redemption. That's that line where like everybody's innocent on the inside. Like that's really interesting. That's a cool idea.
Right. And at the time, my wife's a big Phantom of the Opera fan. So I ended up playing a bard named Gaston Leroux. So you can kind of figure out what my guy did.
Gaston.
And so, yeah. At which point it also, since I have all the performing things, the last session we were actually we were doing investigating a murder for one of the Masked Lord's concubines. So I proceeded to put on a performance of organ music to distract everyone while the rest of the party ransacked their rooms. So, at which point it led me to play music from the Phantom of the Opera because, yeah, that's kind of my gimmick. But, again, it comes down to having that back and forth before you start your main session with the player. So that way you can build up and the player has more buy-in into your world and you have buy-in into their character.
Yeah, exactly.
Both creatively build. You're building the world off what they give you for a backstory, and they're building their character based off of what you developed in your world. And then you end up fleshing them out together. And it's a very much a creative, collaborative process when you have that quality session 0 where everyone's around the table riffing off each other, and next thing you know, you have something cool.
So when you're creating a campaign, do you go with just like rules as written? Like, what are some house rules that you do? I think, Matt, you and I agree on this. No gnomes?
Yeah.
No gnomes.
Actually, no, I'm A-okay with gnomes. I'm very much a rules as written, and especially when it comes to first, because rules as written it's all guidelines anyway, and most of my players don't know the rules as well for first as well as I do. So if I end up skipping something, I'm just like, and I realize it later, I never bring it up, and they never know.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, when I run old school stuff, I always kind of like, I'm a weird rule stickler, which is normally not how I am with later editions.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
there's not many rules to really stick to.
Exactly.
So what are you
like,
sticking
that's
to?
That's what it is.
So the few things that are there, you do stick with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, especially in first edition, like, you know, like if I'm playing like classic D&D, if you want to be a wizard with a sword, sure, that's fine. There are so many more options, I think, that have got expanded into first edition, where it's sort of like, you know, I like the race restriction rules. I want to stick to those because it just fits with my purview of what a first edition game should be.
Oh, so you like level limits? You'll keep on that, and you certain
level
classes
limits.
can't play certain certain races can't play certain classes, things like that.
Yeah.
So
the only thing I don't have is like no gnomes.
So you won't allow a dwarf to be a cleric. Only NPC dwarves can be clerics. That's one of your rules too.
Is that in first edition? I thought
yes,
dwarves could be clerics in first edition.
Well, technically no. If you go by the original book, so they don't allow it. If you look on, let's flip open the book, folks.
If we all open our player's handbook and turn to page,
edit in the actual page number.
Insert page number here.
Page 14, the original. I think it is. I know it's here somewhere. I've seen it before. Yeah, it's in parentheses, which means they can only go up to level 8, but parentheses indicates that this class exists only as a non-player character in the race in question.
Huh.
Just like they won't allow elves to be clerics as well, or gnomes. So,
unless you start
how can
doing
gnomes
some
be clerics if gnomes don't exist?
So funny. But, yeah, they restrict it right there in the book on page 14. Crispy.
I think that is something I have skipped over for the last 15 years.
Most people do. Most people don't care. I mean, I've never actually played in a campaign where a DM was like, nah. Mostly they're just like, yeah, whatever. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. There are definitely no dwarven wizards in my first edition games.
I've never met any rules written sticklers out there except actually 2 people in my entire life, and that was Jason, who used to be on the show, and Will. Those are the only 2.
I knew exactly it was going to be those 2 people. I was like, this is Jason and Will.
Jason was big on he was big on I'm getting back into 1E and I'm going to play it like Gary intended us to play it. And Will was like that since he picked up the book since day one. So, But yeah, I'm very loose with the rules, and I only have like a few rules for house rules, and no evil is usually allowed in my campaigns ever. If you happen to go evil, then that's a different story, but then your character most likely would be taken away, because I don't want to deal with evil characters in my group, because that usually just screws up the entire campaign. At least in my opinion. What about you, Chris? Do you allow evil characters at all, or?
If it's an evil game, yes. I ran an evil game once, and it was
evil.
It was Okay. It was a lot of fun though, with just how psychotic the players let their characters be. It's having evil characters is difficult,
especially when the group is all good.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, what is it going to be? Someone who is just like a psychotic crazy person? Is it someone who, is they don't care about, like, how do you define evil in D&D? Is it like chaotic stupid? Is it, you'll use murder as a means to an end?
Anything with the evil alignment tag is just evil, not allowed in my game.
Yeah, but like, that's the thing. Like,
I think a lawful evil, you could work into a campaign and it wouldn't be the utter chaos that like a chaotic evil who decides to role play the Joker.
Though I have played lawful evil in a campaign within the last couple of years. I slipped it in as I was playing a merchant, but it was actually an assassin, and I screwed up the game because I wound up getting a total party kill except for myself, and then got away. So because I masterminded.
Yeah, but like, what about a neutral evil thief who, like, maybe they do a lot of good adventuring, but they have no problem with torturing and killing to get information.
Right. They're just a little sadistic.
Yeah, I would allow that in my group of murder hobos. Like, that's fine.
I kind of changed things up in the last couple of years and not actually using the alignments as written in the book. I'm going with the whole dark, light, and gray, because a lot of players fall under gray when they play. And they appreciate that because it gives them a little leeway to just do those things that need to get done and not have to worry about their alignment switching. Mm-hmm. And also allows them to be good at the same time.
I'm a big fan of, that might be something that I do house rule in, is I like the 3-point alignment system better. Like Law Chaos. It's like, all right, if you're not actively trying to like destroy civilization, you're lawful. Like, anyone who is like a sentient being who doesn't like want to bring the universe into entropy, you're lawful.
Like with the light, there doesn't mean they're like, goody two shoes and, lawful good. It just means they're a good person. They try to do what's best for them and people around them. Yeah. That doesn't mean they're lawful good. They can be lawful good if they want, but it gives them that little tiny bit of leeway to be good, but still not. And then gray is those people like an average. Sorry to say, everybody in life is generally gray. They do what's best. Yeah. They try to do their best, but most people, if they can sneak something in, they're probably going to.
Yeah. I for a few years, I just got rid of alignment entirely. I was like, this is dumb. Everyone's going to be like neutral to a point. Within recent years, as a player, I've been really trying to play to an alignment. Like, I played a lot of chaotic neutral characters when I was younger, and like chaotic neutral characters who go out and do good. Like, they adventure and they do heroic quests and stuff like that.
Did you always say, I'm not evil, I'm chaotic neutral?
Yeah, but recently I've been playing like a lot of lawful good characters where I tried to just actually be like a stand-up guy who like always does the right thing. Played in a game recently where that did not work out, and I don't want to complain about that right now. But I think if you're gonna do that, you should talk with your DM and be like, hey, like, I want to play the hero. So I want to do these things and be like the good guy.
Right. It's with alignment systems. I mean, I think probably the best alignment system I've seen is the Palladium one.
Oh, the unscruple. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I don't know, just reading those descriptions, you can actually, I think, get a better feel of how the character reacts to various situations, and it gives you that, hey, I do good, but I also don't mind torturing things as well. So it just gives you more options. I think it's more real life based than, like, again, the D&D alignment system's based off heroic archetypes, whereas the Palladium is more like everyday real life dude alignments. So. But when it comes to letting evil in the campaign, I would let it in the campaign, but I would want to have a good understanding of the character, and so that way I can have an idea of how it's going to fit in. Because I've ran games before where one of the players decided to basically play a sociopath, and that didn't quite work out as well as I thought it would.
Yikes.
But it was a Star Wars game, and there was actually gunfights between the players in the very first session.
I know that people hate it, and like I understand, but
I'm ready.
I really like the 4th edition alignment system. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
That's where they had
hate me. Go ahead and.
That's where they had unaligned, right?
Yeah. So you have lawful good. So you're like you're like the most good. You're like a paladin. Then you have good, which I think is just most people, like we were talking about. Then unaligned, which I think is like true neutral in like a druidic sense in AD&D.
Hated that alignment.
Or like animals. And then you have evil, where like maybe you go out and do good stuff, but you don't care about torture and murder. And then you have chaotic evil, which is the Joker. Like I like that scale. Like lawful good's the most good. Good is most people. Unaligned is
all munchkins.
Yeah, and then evil, which is like maybe you do some bad stuff. Maybe you're a thug or like a mob boss, or like a villain. And then you have chaotic evil, which is like I'm going to burn the forest down just because I want to. I like the way fire dances in the moonlight.
Apparently, you might have been the only person that liked that because they didn't continue with that. Sorry, Chris.
I know, but like, that's a whole other discussion. I think it fits really well, kind of with what we're talking about. Where it's like, not everyone's lawful good. Maybe not everyone's even chaotic good or neutral good. They're just like they're doing the best they can. I think that would fall under good.
All right, and let's kind of wrap this up by one last kind of thing here about when to say yes versus no, and how to use the word maybe try this. No DM should ever say a flat-out no to a player while playing the game. You should never be like, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. It should be, well, I don't think you could possibly do that, or I don't think you can do that, but let's try doing it this way, or how about we try this? Have you done that before, Matt, at all?
Yeah, I'm very much into, like, I had the last game I was running, I had a half-orc character who wanted his character to actually be even dumber than it was. He actually wanted to reduce a stat. He wanted his wisdom to be 6.
Okay, that's acceptable.
Right. So I'm like, okay. And so I'm like, I'll even let you, at that point, I'm like, if for role-playing purposes, you want to play a really idiotic character, I'm like, okay. I'll tell you what. I actually, in that case, said, I'll let you reassign it to one of these other stats just for this because, and he actually did a really good job of role-playing a 6 wisdom half-orc. So I felt okay with that, especially when it's something that if a player's throwing something at me that's more a detriment to them but will add to the role-playing, I'm like, oh, absolutely. Because at that point, it's all it's doing is adding more flavor to the story. Sometimes, like, there was one game I was running. It was a ranger, and they wanted to use like a certain type of crossbow that normally a ranger wouldn't be able to use. I'm like, okay, why should this? Give me a backstory. Explain to me why you're using this crossbow. At which point, they developed this story of, well, I think they were like a gnome ranger or something. It was in 2E days. Or something like it was something some weird combo like that, and it was like, I got abandoned, and I was raised by these elves in the. I'm like, okay, good enough. He put some effort.
Little useless arms weren't strong enough to pull back on the bows,
right? So it was like, here, take this crossbow.
All right, let's stop right here. Why do you hate gnomes so much, Chris?
Look, they're useless. You already have halflings, and you already have dwarves. What are gnomes? They're just halfling dwarves. They're like a weird combination. It's like anything that a gnome could do. Oh, they're the tinkers. Yeah, like you could also have dwarves be the tinkers. You know, they're small and like they like to play tricks on people. Halflings could have that as well. They're good at magic. Elves already exist. They're just like, well, they're the halflings of fairy kind, and they're bad and they're dumb and they don't fit in.
Look at it. No, it's all about the amount of body hair of the short people. Dwarves are the furriest.
All right.
Halflings are that middle ground. They got the furry feet. Gnomes are the hairless short people.
Gross.
I think that's going to end this segment now. But yeah, now we understand why Crispy does not like gnomes.
No gnomes.
Right. Any feedback should go to rfistaff@gmail.com and directed subject, I hate Crispy.
That's fair, you know?
And he will answer it on the show, live, in front of a studio audience. Because we have that. But let's head into some treasure chest.
You have opened the treasure chest. You may choose an item.
Okay, treasure chest today. I'm going to pull an item from my actual DM book. I'm going to try to do this a little more often because, you know, we all know the magic items that are listed inside the books and in the modules. And you can go look those up any day. But, you know, let's look at some more custom items. Maybe, you know, I'll find an item on the internet or from a blog or something, or just from my personal book. And this one I pulled out from my personal book called The Gauntlet of Dark Forces. I valued it at 10,000 gold pieces, and the XP value is at 5. So this is a regular gauntlet. Upon placing the item on, the wearer must concentrate. And for those that like to have that whole segment thing, in case they play with segments, because a lot of people are stickler for segments, you have to concentrate for 2 segments for the action. And it releases a dark blast that'll hit 1 target. There's no 2-hit roll needed for this. It's kind of like a magic missile. It just automatically hits the target, unless they have some magic resistance, of course. And only damage dice are rolled. So for the damage dice, you would roll 3d6. Yeah, this really isn't a first level magic item, so don't think you're giving this to a first level character. You roll 3d6, and on all ones, which is possible, I don't know what the percent chance of that is, but the character will take damage himself. This item will strike back at the person, and the item is still usable, of course. And all 6s, which is 666, the damage will double. And the character is compelled to use this item the very next round again, no matter the situation, and will not pull a punch. So if you're just doing it to intimidate someone or trying to get a little damage on them and you get those 666s and you damage him and you have to use it right again, and if you do another 3 6s, you got to use it again. Even if you're killing or overkilling the person, you're going to overkill them with this. And of course, with every magical item, they have charges on them, and once the charges run out, the item becomes useless unless recharged again. And that could be an entire campaign to get out there and recharge it. Who knows how you can do it? Maybe it's some type of demonic force you have to get in contact with, or go to the Mountain of Doom or something, or I don't know. Any comments, guys?
I love Mega Man.
Yes.
I wasn't even thinking
I like
about
this
that.
actually. It's very like 80s fantasy, like kind of like Krull or like Kull the Conqueror.
Yeah, instilled with the dark magic, at which point it could even be someone is trying to forge this and imbibe it with the dark power so they can like try to take over the land or something. Mm-hmm. This is like their idea of their maniacal super weapon. Bow before my might of my dark gauntlets.
To be honest, I think when I wrote this, because this is an old page in one of my books that I found, I was probably reading the Infinity Gauntlet series at that time.
Yep.
So I was looking at it, and I'm like, you know what? This is from a long time ago from my book. I'm thinking, I bet I was reading the Infinity Gauntlet gems or something like that.
Yeah, the Infinity Gems. Yep.
Or you had just watched Laser Blast.
No. Laser Blast, no. That is, yeah.
He watched The Wizard and mistook it for the Power Glove?
Maybe.
Oh, it's so bad.
Yes.
I'd like to see one do like a Death Note item for the game. That'd be kind of cool, like that notebook.
That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, actually.
Considering I was just watching that movie on Netflix and it was really cool. So
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the Gauntlet of Dark Forces, and I'll try to do this like every time for Treasure Chest, find an item or pull an item. I got plenty of items in my book because I've sat down at work and done things like this because I'm bored at work, sometimes on conference calls, and I'll just be like, oh, this is a good idea, or I'll draw a little map or something, or I'll bother Crispy and make him do things and something like that.
Yeah.
Or Matt, make him do things too.
Yeah. I'm just much slower at them.
No, you're fine. I just will text people or do things like most of my work days are conference calls with Mexico or Barcelona or things like that. So I have a lot of downtime while I'm on these conference calls until it's my turn to do something. So I'm like, what gaming thing can I do while I'm getting paid? So
Nice.
So that's what I do.
Pay me to make D&D stuff.
I do. I have my little book with me. I'm sitting there. I'll just like jot down an idea, or someone will, it's really funny because I'll be on the conference call and they'll be like, the guy from Barcelona will be like, yes, the fountain over here is where we're going. And I'm like, ooh, fountain. That's a good idea. Fountain of dark powers. And I'll start writing something down.
Maybe that's how you recharge these gauntlets. You have to dip them in the dark waters.
Oh God. Is the Pirates of Dark Waters involved?
Dark waters. Or you could go Dark Crystal.
I think that's going to end this segment.
How many segments in a row can I derail?
Matt is on a roll, folks. On a roll. Let's head into Creature Feature.
Are you enjoying the show you're listening to right now? Want to help support the show? Why not head over to the Patreon site, patreon.com/WGP. That's patreon.com/WGP. And help support the network for as little as $1.50 a month. That's right, $1.50 a month goes a long way. Thank you.
Are you saying that I put an abnormal brain into a 7.5-foot long gorilla?
Creature Feature Theater.
It's alive! It's alive!
All right. And in this creature feature, it's going to have a lot of mouths in it. It'll have not just me, Crispy, and Vince, but also the many, many mouths of this monster. Because, yeah, we're dipping into the monster manual, too, for this one. And it's the Gibbering Mouther. I was just flipping through the other night, and I'm like, what is this weird thing with nothing but eyes and mouths? I want to know more. And it is when you read this in the monster manual too, it doesn't really talk about how this aberration game do exist. It's more of, it's a amoebic life form with just eyes and mouth. And it just sits there with its eyes and mouth shut. So it's just like a mass blob. And when something edible comes by it, it eats it with all of its mouths. And it eats everything, mineral, vegetable, people, doesn't matter. It's always hungry. So the areas around it will be like stripped bare of pretty much anything and pretty clean because, well, it ate everything. Typically it's in old, cold and underground areas. So you'll find these in like your caves and whatnot. And it moves by oozing forward because, again, it's just this massive mouths, and the mouths will actually latch onto the floor and like force itself forward by using its mouth as like little suction cups too.
It's basically David Cronenberg, the D&D monster. Like somebody watched the Cronenberg era, like 80s Lovecraft movies, and it's like, this is it. This is the thing I want to write.
Yes, it very much has that, like, just creepy, bizarre, like, living wall-esque creepiness going on.
So I think the best way to you could make this monster at home. Go buy 100 silly putties from the dollar store. Spend $100 on silly putty. Get a big massive silly putty. Then go buy those joke teeth, the wind up chattering teeth.
Yeah, and
a bunch of and some googly eyes. And just throw it all together. Boom, gibbering mouth.
And that's what's attacking you.
That is it's flesh color. It's like a pile of flesh that has it's just mouths and teeth. And eyeballs. That's all it is.
Yeah. It actually does have a brain in the middle of it. So if you want to try to attack the brain, you can, but it's got an AC of 1. Oh. But otherwise, all of its appendages are mouths and eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it gets into how it devours you. Apparently, it spits a flashbang. When its spittle hits a hard, cold surface, it makes a bright flare, and then the resulting flash will blind anyone if they fail their save versus petrification for a round. And once they blind you, that's when all the mouths latch on you and start trying to eat you. And they will hit you with the first time will be 6 mouths in a round. So you got 6 mouths with this giant blob of flesh on you.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate how much of a nightmare creature this is. It's not like it comes up to you and no, they extend from it. It alien out
he's
a spaghetti noodle with a mouth attached to it.
Yes. So you've got this eye and mouth coming at you. They latch onto you. And so you have all those. And then it tries to drag you down. And you have to make a 4 or less on a 2d6. Otherwise you fall down, at which point more mouths latch on. And then it's just going to try to devour you.
Yeah. I imagine it makes this noise.
It actually does
sounds like
make
Skeletor.
noise that causes confusion because it's constantly gibbering.
I actually have a great gibbering mouthing store, a great gibbering mouther story based on that, where I threw one of them in a 3rd edition game. I threw one at someone, and there's a table for the confusion effects, and one of them is you hit yourself with whatever weapon you're holding. And I had a player do that, and they failed that save about 6 times while they were holding a torch and just knocked themselves out of the fight.
Oh.
I kept rolling the oh, you're confused and you hit yourself roll. It was top D&D moment in my head.
Yes, that's just high comedy there, especially depending if it's a high level party.
Yeah, I'm rolling behind a screen and it's all right, you failed your save, roll, and it's a 10. You hit yourself, and then we just did that 6 more times. It's I don't know how,
but you can't stop. Stop hitting yourself.
Stop hitting yourself. That's basically it.
Yeah. In this chart, though, it doesn't have the hit yourself. It just has the hit nearest creature, living creature. Mm-hmm. Or you could just stand there stunned. Or you could just run away in terror. I mean, I could even see just upon the sight of this having to make a fear check.
Yeah, it's a nightmare creature. Yeah. It's terrifying.
If you saw this 6-foot blob of just eyes and mouths chomping coming towards you, it would make even the most hardened adventurer at least take a step back.
Yeah, it's oh, this is some weird stuff. I'm in hell? I think I'm in hell.
Yes, I don't know where my life took this wrong turn, but I don't like it. Then just that alone isn't enough because they have the ability to change the ground around them as well, because they warm the ground within a 5 feet radius of it, and then they can change the consistency of the ground, so they can change it to from concrete to quicksand, so you're all of a sudden you're now sinking into the ground as this thing is approaching you, because it actually moves better.
Awful. That is such an awful thing to do to someone.
Yeah, because it can control. Yeah, the exact line is it can control the consistency of this material by changing it to doughy, tarish quicksand or concrete. So it could even quicksand you, then concrete you once you're trapped.
Just roll up on you and just like
start nibbling at your head.
Yeah, just like place itself on like because it's an amorphous blob. It just like is on top of you and just engulfs you and then eats you. That's awful.
Yes. This is just like the Thing of nightmares.
Yeah.
And in the first edition, they don't talk about its origin, but there's a little blurb out of 2E because you have to go to the like Al-Qadim to actually even find it in second edition. It's like, really, Al-Qadim?
That's all right.
Yeah. But
yeah, you know that classic Arabic monster, the gibbering mouther.
You're right. But it very much fits because it's they're unnatural creatures, created by foul sorcery and kept as guards by mages and cults. Okay, I could see that. I could definitely see this being like a monster. Did some dark magic. Maybe you zapped the wrong thing with Vince's dark gauntlets, and next thing you know, you have a gibbering mouth.
Cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's just something just to...
I had that same thing happen, actually. I was playing on a 5th edition game a couple months ago, and somebody had a wand that had broken.
Yeah.
And when they tried to use it, it zapped them and turned them into a gibbering mouther. That's real life, actually.
Oh.
It happened in real life?
Yeah, it did. Man, it was crazy. Magic is real? I was blown away by that. But also, it became a 6-foot flesh pile, and that was pretty unsettling.
How does he roll the dice still? Does he, like, spit them out of one of his many mouths, or...?
Well, we had to kill him. Like.
Oh, okay. You just couldn't handle the gibbering anymore?
I mean, it...
All right. I think
it gibbered and drove us insane, and that's why we killed it. Like
Oh, you failed your confusion and you attacked the nearest living thing.
Yeah, nearest living thing. Just kept rolling that result.
Yeah,
I think we killed that segment too.
Yes.
I don't know what you're talking about. I think this has been a good show.
Oh, it's a great show. Yeah, definitely.
It's a fantastic show.
So why don't we head into some emails now and end the show?
Sage Advice.
All right, so for Sage Advice, we kind of pulled into the email bag and looked around. We had a couple questions. Actually, we had one question that was keeps coming up, so I just want to kind of mention it again, and I'll try to put it on the webpage under the FAQ, but DM Keel wrote in and wanted to know what happened to the Actual Play podcast for 1E that we did, and if we can direct him to any more out there. I don't know of any myself, to be honest. There might be one or two on YouTube, but I don't really listen to things on YouTube like that in great detail. As far as Actual Play podcast, I think Hobbs and Friends may have done one. You may want to look them up because they did a lot of OSR stuff. Mine is out there. We'll put a link in there for the Evil DM Actual Plays podcast. And it has all my Book of Sorrows in there. And it has my Fin Fang Foom when I did Oriental Adventures as well. And I'll probably have some more stuff when things come about. So. And then we also got a nice long email from DM Domino, who gave us a nice review about the podcast and how he got involved and how we were a good host. And he misses, some of the various past hosts like Jason, Will, and Chad. And actually, I don't see mention of Crispy in the email. Sorry, Christopher.
No, it does actually. I've taken 8 pages of notes of things to follow up on and incorporate my game from listening. Crispy never made me nauseous.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, so yeah, you just never made him nauseous, that's all.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, and just keep writing us in. rfistaff@gmail.com, 570-865-4210 is the hotline, and facebook.com/RFI Podcast, RFI Podcast on Twitter, and that's how you can contact us, and we're available to answer all your questions. And hopefully you're enjoying our new theme song by Glory Hammer as well.
Yes. absolutely awesome. So glad you stumbled across them, Vince.
I know. I was just kind of looking for some music, and I stumbled across them, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. And so I was like, you know what? Let me take a shot and ping them and see what happens. And I was like, hey, do you mind if we use some of your music? And he's like, oh, yeah, dude, we've heard your show. I was like, really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so and they apparently if you listen and look at most of their music, it's based off of an old campaign that they played back in the day. I think it might have been first edition. I didn't get that far to ask them that, but I know currently they're playing Warhammer 40K. So,
okay,
the role playing game, not the actual minis.
Right? Yeah, because they just did some weird stuff with that.
Yeah, but the music is excellent. It's like totally 80s, Like, I want to call it 80s power ballad opera rock or something. I don't know how to really...
Right. Because it's got that hard metal, but it's also got that... you would hear it at a Ren Fair thing going on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like if you wanted a rock band at a Ren Fair, book these guys. I mean, because, it just... Just listen, and you'll hear it.
Cool.
It's great stuff.
Give them a listen to and give them some praise. Buy their albums; they're really cool. So I guess that's going to end the show. We're going to keep it original, keep it old school, and good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
The Roll for Initiative podcast is part of the Wild Games Productions Network and produced for entertainment purposes only. All other uses are prohibited. Hey, if you'd like to contact us, go to rfipodcast.com, click on Contact Us, or email us at rfistaff@gmail.com. Voicemail line 570-865-4210. Facebook.com/rfipodcast for more.